My name is Mark. I was the kind of man who believed in forever, in the quiet, profound beauty of a life built brick by ordinary brick. I wasn't flashy, never chased grand adventures. My adventure was Sarah. She was the one who sparkled, who drew light and attention effortlessly, a living, breathing charisma that captivated me from the moment we met. Our home, a rambling old house we'd poured our shared dreams and every spare penny into, was my sanctuary, our sanctuary. It was more than walls and a roof. It was the tangible embodiment of our future, a future I saw stretching endlessly before us, filled with Sunday mornings and quiet evenings, children's laughter that would one day echo through these halls. I believed in us. I believed in her. I believed in everything. And then, one Tuesday, a world ended. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation, no shouting, no tears, not at first. It was a digital ghost, a string of text on her forgotten phone, laid bare on the kitchen counter. My fingers, almost on their own, reached for it. And there it was. Not a fleeting mistake, not a drunken lapse, but a months-long affair. A second life she meticulously, cunningly hid. A man's name I didn't know, plans for weekends away, intimate jokes, declarations of love that were not for me. My breath hitched. The air left my lungs. The world tilted. The man who adored her, who built his entire existence around the quiet certainty of her love, died that very instant. He simply ceased to be. In his place, a meticulous architect of despair was born. A quiet, burning need for justice, cold and precise, ignited within me. The betrayal wasn't just sexual. It was an invasion of my mind, a desecration of my trust, a brutal mockery of every shared memory, every whispered promise. Every time she had smiled at me, every time she had kissed me, knowing what she was doing behind my back, it became a poisoned memory. The laughter, the comfort, the assumed intimacy, all twisted into grotesque lies. The love I felt, so pure and absolute, turned into a bitter ash in my mouth. My heart, once a warm, beating thing, felt like a hollowed-out cavern, echoing with a silent scream. I remember standing there, phone in hand, the mundane kitchen suddenly transforming into a stage for the most brutal play of my life. The light through the window seemed to dim, the familiar scent of our home turning stale, suffocating. I felt utterly, completely alone, adrift in a sea of her deceit. The first few days were a blur of numb existence. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My mind replayed the texts, each word a fresh wound. I watched her move through our home, her casual ease, her oblivious smiles, and a chilling calm settled over me. The anger wasn't explosive. It was a deep, frozen river flowing through my veins, hardening my resolve. I wanted her to feel a fraction of the devastation she had inflicted upon me. But not through violence, not through a messy public scene. That wasn't my style. My revenge would be different. It would be an art form. It would be a slow, agonizing demolition of her meticulously crafted image, a public unraveling she'd help orchestrate herself. I chose the home, our home, the very canvas of our destroyed life. It was perfect, the ultimate symbol. I orchestrated the discovery of the affair. Her initial shock, her tearful pleas, her carefully rehearsed apologies. I watched her perform, a hollow ache in my chest. And then I offered forgiveness. It was a word that felt like acid on my tongue, but I forced it out, coated in what sounded like pain and understanding. I proposed a radical idea. We wouldn't just move on. We would renovate our shared dream home. A symbol, I told her, of our fresh start. A way to mend what was broken before selling it and moving on completely, separately. The idea, I explained, was to reclaim the space, to purge the memories, to make it ready for new beginnings for both of us.
Sarah, to my grim satisfaction, embraced the idea with a relief that was almost palpable. She saw it as her escape, her chance to rebuild her image, to prove her remorse, to move past this messy chapter quietly. She genuinely believed I was broken but noble, willing to give her this quiet exit. She had no idea she was stepping into the most elaborate trap of her life. The renovation started. The noise, the dust, the controlled chaos of destruction was a balm to my fractured soul. Each wall that came down was a metaphor for the lies crumbling. Each floorboard ripped up was a truth exposed. I was there every single day, overseeing everything. My presence was constant, unwavering. I feigned enthusiasm, discussing paint swatches, tile patterns, pretending to rebuild a future with her even as I meticulously planned its complete annihilation. My hands, once accustomed to building a life with her, now moved with a different purpose. As walls came down and floors were pulled up, I carefully, subtly embedded evidence, not just of her infidelity, but of her calculated deceit, her coldness, her true character. I knew what to look for, what would resonate, what would be undeniable once found. One afternoon, I found an old faded photograph, a picture of her laughing, too close to the man I now knew. It was taken months before I discovered the affair, a time she swore she was trying to end it. I slipped it behind a new baseboard in what was once our master bedroom, now slated to become a guest room. I made sure it was tucked just so, not immediately visible, but positioned where a curious contractor or a future homeowner doing even minor work would eventually discover it. A tiny, almost insignificant piece of plastic, but one with a devastating story. It was a fragment of a lie, waiting to be unearthed. Later, as we salvaged some of the old, beautiful hardwood flooring, I carefully worked on one particular plank. I etched a series of tiny, almost invisible dots into its underside, a coded message that, when deciphered, would reveal a specific date, time, and location. A time she was supposedly with her sick aunt, but was actually with him. I knew the code was obscure, but I also knew someone, somewhere, would eventually be curious enough, diligent enough, to piece it together. I replaced that floorboard in the new open-concept living space, right where the morning sun would often hit, ensuring it would catch the eye of a meticulous cleaner or an interested guest. The irony was exquisite. The very ground she walked on now held the secrets of her betrayal. The small silver locket she often wore, the one I had given her for our 5th anniversary, mysteriously went missing during the demolition. She searched for it frantically, genuinely upset. I had found it, of course, months ago, tucked away in a drawer with old, forgotten trinkets. I had opened it, knowing it held a tiny picture of us from happier times. I removed our picture, and in its place, I carefully inserted a single dried rose petal, not from our garden, but from a bouquet I knew he had given her. I then tucked the locket with its new silent confession deep into a newly opened wall cavity behind a section of drywall in the kitchen near the old pantry. A contractor would find it, or perhaps the new owners, years from now, during a future renovation. A forgotten treasure, speaking volumes. Each day was a performance. I watched her, her face alight with what she thought was hope, as she discussed decor or future plans for her own life. It was a macabre dance. She was so focused on her own narrative, on crafting her clean escape, that she never once suspected the deeper game being played. The house was her escape route. For me, it was the battlefield. The dust, the debris, the sound of hammering and sawing were my symphony of vengeance. Every swing of a hammer, every nail driven was an act of meticulous deconstruction, not just of the physical structure, but of her entire fabricated world. Sometimes, late at night, alone in the stripped bare shell of our home, I would walk through the empty rooms, the bare studs like skeletal remains. I'd trace the lines where walls once stood, where laughter once echoed, and a profound sadness would wash over me. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about grief. Grief for the mark I used to be. Grief for the future I had imagined. Grief for the beautiful, impossible lie that was our life. The revenge, meticulously executed, was a way to channel that grief, to give it a destructive yet controlled outlet. It was the only way I knew how to process the overwhelming pain. It was the only way I could breathe. I pictured the unraveling. Not a single explosive moment, but a series of quiet detonations.
A contractor, curious about the old photo, showing it to a colleague, leading to whispers. A friend, helping the new homeowner, finding the locket, remembering Sarah wore one just like it, connecting the dots. The coded floorboard, perhaps found by an architectural student or a history buff, deciphered and shared, becoming a story told over coffee. Each accidental discovery would chip away at her facade, turning her new beginning into a public trial, piece by agonizing piece. The narrative of poor Sarah, wronged by her husband, would slowly, inexorably flip. Doubt would creep in, then certainty. Her carefully constructed image, the one she fought so hard to restore, would crumble, not because I shouted, but because the very foundation she stood on would betray her. The house is nearly finished now. Polished floors, fresh paint, modern fixtures. It looks beautiful, ready for a new chapter. Ready for someone else's story. But beneath the surface, within the very fabric of its new existence, it holds secrets. Her secrets. It's a tomb of her deceit and a monument to my broken heart. I won't be here for the grand finale. I won't see the exact moment the first piece of evidence is discovered. But I don't need to. I know it's there. My work is done. The architect of despair has completed his masterpiece. This isn't just a story about getting even. It's about watching the person who shattered your world unknowingly become the instrument of their own spectacular public downfall, all within the very walls that once held our perfect, unbuilt life. It's about the quiet, devastating power of truth, meticulously planted, waiting for its moment to bloom into bitter consequence. And as I walk away from this house for the last time, I carry not satisfaction, but a profound emptiness. The life I built with her is gone, and in its place there is only the echoes of a silent, terrible justice.